Good evening, everyone. This is the Rowley Board of Selectmen meeting for January 7th, 2019. This meeting is being video recorded and televised live on Rowley Community Media, and I will first lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Okay, the first order of business is a 7 p.m. We're 4 minutes late. Joint meeting with the Board of Library Trustees for the purpose of meeting with Kimberly Klibanski and Elizabeth Cullen to discuss the vacant seat on the Board of Library Trustees. We have two residents, Kimberly Klibanski and Elizabeth Cullen, have expressed an interest in being appointed to a vacant seat on the Board of Library Trustees. Ms. Klibanski's and Ms. Cullen's resumes are attached. Both individuals have met with the chairwoman of the Board of Library Trustees, Maggie Lemelin, and Library Director Pamela Jacobson. I understand that Kimberly Klibanski is not here tonight, but Elizabeth Cullen is. Is that true? Is that correct? Yes. Oh, thanks for coming, Elizabeth. Okay. Because this is an opening on an elected board, the statute requires both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Library Trustees to meet jointly to make this appointment. This appointment runs until the annual town election on May 14, 2019. Okay, so we have to go into the joint meeting procedure, and I'll first call for a motion and a second from the Board of Selectmen to open the joint meeting with the Board of Library Trustees.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Any seconds?
Second.
Okay, the motion to open the joint meeting has been made and seconded. I will now call for a roll call vote by the Selectmen. Bob? Roll call vote? Dave?
Aye, Dave Peterson.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Aye, Cliff Pierce.
I, Robert Snow.
Okay, now Chairman Maggie Lemelin will now call for a motion.
I call for a motion to convene a joint executive session.
So moved.
Well, it's not an
A joint
executive,
session.
joint meeting with the
Joint
Board of
meeting with the
Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen.
Number two.
Second.
Second.
Second?
Second, okay.
Second.
I need a roll call vote.
Can you give your name so that,
Thomas Glenn Blakeney. Mark Behringer.
Jacqueline Trojan.
Jenny Patterson. Michelle Ford.
Janet Peabody. Maggie Lemlin.
Okay, that's done. So the joint meeting is now in session. We'll now review and discuss the letters, resumes submitted by the two individuals. And I'll call upon the Board of Library Trustees to make a recommendation. Well, first I'll ask for Elizabeth. You submitted a letter in support of your request. Do you want to read that letter, or do you want to just paraphrase it or make whatever statement you'd like in terms of why you're interested in the position and what your background is that might be relevant?
Well, everyone has it in front of them, but,
Yeah.
so I don't
it's up
think
to
I
you.
need to read it.
No,
But
that's okay.
But I have been active in other organizations, and I would like, I'll just say that I'm a good customer of the Rowley Public Library, but, and I knew from running in and out how busy what a busy place that really is, but it wasn't until I decided to put my name in for the Board of Trustee position that I realized, and looked at the strategic plan and so forth, and I realized how much the library, how crucial it really is to this town. And after talking to Maggie and to Pam, and I realized what they're beginning to have in mind for the next 5 years, I decided I'd really like to help in any way that I could.
Okay, good. Thank you. So does the Board of Library Trustees have a recommendation as to who should be appointed?
We recommend Liz Cullen for the board.
Okay. Any further discussion by either board?
I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, that we got a letter from Elizabeth Cullen, obviously, and we have the an extensive resume from Kimberly Klibanski. they're both extremely well qualified. I mean, not an issue of qualification.
Right.
Either one, I'm sure, could do an excellent job, so I'll go along with the recommendation of the
I just would
trustees.
like to say, I completely agree with that. We had two excellent candidates.
Right.
Hopefully she'll,
Consider running in May.
if they recommend the other person, that she'll get involved in some other board or, be available in the future for that position. Because there's people like both of you actually that we're looking for. We have a hard time getting people to volunteer for any boards or run for office, so we're looking for qualified people. And like I said one time, we're 5 old white guys here running the town of Raleigh. And we'd love to see some other people get involved, so it's.
I wish I could say speak for yourself.
With that, I'll keep quiet.
Elizabeth, so you understand you will have to run for election in May if you desire to keep the position?
Yes, I
right?
understand.
Okay. Okay, so Chairman Lemelin will now make a motion.
I make a motion to accept the application for the letter of interest from Elizabeth Cullen, and have her recommend her appointment to the Raleigh Board of Library Trustees.
Okay, thank you. Now we need a roll call vote from the Board of Library Trustees.
You need a second?
No,
Second.
Sorry. Roll call vote.
Maggie Lemlin? Yes?
I, Jacqueline Trojan.
Yes, Mark Behringer. Aye, Thomas Glenn Blakeney.
Hi, Jenny Patterson?
I, Michelle Ford. I, Janet Peabody.
Okay, so we need a motion from a selectman to appoint Elizabeth Cullen. to the-
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, now we'll need a roll call vote.
Hi, Dave Peterson.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Aye, Cliff Pierce.
All right, Snow.
Okay, now we need there's a lot of procedure here for a simple issue. We need I'll call for a motion and a second by the Board of Selectmen to close the joint meeting with the library, Board of Library Trustees.
I'll give it, I'll second it.
Okay, motion to close the joint meeting has been made and seconded. Now we need a roll call vote from the Selectmen.
Hi, Dave Peterson.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Aye, Cliff Pierce.
Robert Snow.
Okay, so now we need the same from Chairman Lemelin.
I call for a motion to close the joint meetings between the Board of Selectmen by roll call vote.
I, second.
Hi, Maggie Lemlin?
I, Jacqueline Trojan.
Aye, Mark Behringer. Aye, Thomas Glenn Blakeney.
Hi, Jenny Patterson?
I, Michelle Ford. I, Janet Peabody.
Okay, great. The joint meeting is now closed. Thank you, Elizabeth, for being willing to participate.
Well, thank you for
hope you enjoy it.
considering me.
Welcome.
You'll need to be sworn in by the town clerk.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, we're working on an official action notice at this moment that can be presented to the town clerk while she's here,
Oh,
if that will make it easier.
okay, thanks for coming, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Nice
Good
seeing
to
you.
see you. Take care, everybody. Bye now.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Say hello to David.
I will, definitely. Have a good one.
You too.
Take care now. Bye.
Take care.
See ya.
Okay, the period of public comment is now open. It'll close at 7:22. We have a public hearing at 7:30.
That way.
Shouldn't take long.
Larry White, Central Street. I recently went to the Triton Finance Committee meeting where they discussed the fiscal year 20 upcoming budget, and it appeared to be very disheartening. They were looking at the baseline budget, being that was approved at the special town meeting, and not the budget that both Rowley and Salisbury approved at their annual town meetings, which was much less. Your letter unfortunately didn't indicate what baseline you proposed, but only the $290,000 proposed increase that we could afford. I know that you and the other towns have met I wanted to know specifically what changes have been made between last year's school fiasco budget and this year, so that we won't go through the same rabbit hole that we did last year, and a budget that was unacceptable to at least two of the towns. Thank you.
Right, well, we still don't know a lot of details, at least we didn't as the last time that I met, or that the Communications Committee met. As you know, I think you were there, but
Yes.
we're still waiting to hear the details on, like, the health insurance costs and enrollment and things of that nature, so we're still pretty much in the dark at this point. Hopefully that'll be clarified soon.
Well, the health insurance costs are under negotiation.
Right.
However, both they and I agree with them, do not expect a monstrous decrease in the health insurance costs that would significantly affect the town's assessment. You can estimate the increase within 1 or 2% and have a viable number. If they had agreed to a town assessment that was approved at the annual town meeting, that would have been a step in the right direction. Even though they're looking at a $1.8 million increase in last year's or this year's budget versus fiscal year 20, which would be a $600,000 plus assessment to Rowley, which is nowhere near the 290 that we said we could afford. One seems like we're nowhere near coming to an agreement and going down the same path that we did last year without any changes.
Well, we'll see soon, I think. Okay, thank you for your comments. We have sir.
Yeah, I'm Mark Berenger, 115 Bennett Hill Road. I don't know if you are aware of all the development that's going on there. You've probably seen it. There's an extensive drainage system that's being put in across the street from us, and my question is, who is responsible for the maintenance of that going forward, and how is that going to be handled? And the reason I ask is I went to some of the open houses, and I've been to some of the conservation meetings. There was an indication that the homeowners would be responsible for doing the maintenance in these basins. And some of the basins are cut by the property lines, so there's going to be some shared responsibility there. And the Conservation Committee indicated that the homeowners would probably be responsible for that. But when you go to the open houses, there's absolutely no mention of any responsibility by the homeowners for any maintenance on those ponds. Do you have any comment on how that should be handled best?
Well, I'll say to start that these were these lots were developed as Form A lots, what's called Form A lots, which is basically that they all had adequate frontage on a town road, which means that they didn't have to go through the planning board review process, which subdivisions typically have to go through. So,
But did they meet the spirit of what the Form A really was intended? Because they basically have like, it's basically like
Yeah.
a subdivision they put in there. I mean, they're moving dirt between the lots, they've recontoured the whole landscape. Did they ever pull a earth removal permit? They've removed a tremendous amount of dirt out of there.
no, we have not issued an earth removal.
Is there a
permit.
reason why they wouldn't have had to do that, or where was the process to?
Well, it's of our opinion that they should have, but I brought that up with the building inspector, who said that he wasn't aware that they were removing all that earth until after AC was approving the.
Well, what's done is done, I
Right,
guess.
right. No, you raise a good question.
But I'm
not
just
sure
going
what-
forward, it's more a concern about the general oversight of such things in Rowley going forward.
Mhm.
It seems to me that that project should have gotten somehow more attention. There might have been some kind of lack of information flow between the Conservation Commission and maybe some of the other committees. That's just my impression, and I just wanted to call it to your attention, and particularly with the maintenance aspect going forward, make sure that we,
Can we contact Brent and see if we get an answer on this?
Just very quickly, we're not supposed to be responding, but
Yeah.
I talked to Brent today, so talk to Brent at the he's the conservation, you talk to him, I brought up those lots specifically today.
okay.
And if you talk to him, he can fill you in on what exactly the process should be.
But they were exempt from the normal review process, which is
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
planning board.
It's just-
And that's a problem with state law. It's a weakness, and there's really no spirit of Form A development. It's really anything goes. But there are other considerations, like the town has a stormwater management bylaw that the Concom administers, and maybe that's where the jurisdiction for the town comes in.
So there may need to be some covenants put on the deeds on those property, I'm presuming
Keep the door
under
open a little
the
bit.
recorded stormwater permit. I'm
Right.
just not sure.
Yeah, that-
Yeah, go ahead, you can
what
take
the
it.
Maybe there isn't much maintenance. I know that Brent said it should be mowed, you know, I think it's pretty minimal, but, you know, those things have to be maybe.
They all need maintenance, all these
There's always something,
detention
right?
basins do
Yeah.
need maintenance. So
Can I,
we can contact Brent and see
Well,
what's the answer to
certainly,
that.
and get some further
Right.
information, and I believe I have Mr. Berenger's contact
Okay.
information.
I'd like to comment also, I live on Bennett Hill, on the other end from Mark, and I frequently ride on Bennett Hill, and there were several 18-wheel loads of earth removed
Really?
from that area. And there is a large pond just off the edge of the road that sits there. It's
So there was 100 truckloads, 18-wheelers taken out of there. There was a huge dirt pile. They
huge.
have just like recontoured that whole hillside. And it was literally for 2 days, they were trucking dirt out of there. I mean, we complained to the builders, I mean, it was right outside our front door, this mountain of dirt for months, and they obliged us and moved it, so, you know, but it just seemed like that should have all been done under, should have been monitored, or they should have at least pulled a permit for that. I mean, this was far in exceedance of what the bylaw states, the amount of dirt that was moved.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to call that to your attention for future, you know, when such Form A packages are done. I mean, it starts to be more like a subdivision than a Form A project in my mind.
Okay, all right, well, thanks for your comments, we
Yeah,
appreciate
Thank
it.
you, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Guillaume Buell. I live at 69 Spencer Mills Road, and I just wanted to urge the selectmen to continue to look for a solution to the recycling issue, given now that the recycling center's been closed. When we moved here, the recycling center was a nice attraction to the town. It's my opinion that it's a service the town should find the funds to provide. And I know in your minutes that I read in the past, you're looking into it, so I won't belabor the point, but I just wanted to voice my opinion of that the town should expend funds to have a recycling center, and that, you know, it's an important service that the town should provide.
Okay, well, that is actually on our agenda for tonight, we're gonna discuss.
I saw that. I figured you
Okay.
wouldn't want my input at that point, but I wanted to just.
Okay, no, that's good, so you might wanna stick around,
Thank you.
we'll get to that, you know, shortly. Okay, proceed to new business. Oh, I'm sorry, general business. General business number one is Department of Agricultural Resources, request for annual designation of animal control officer. We've received the annual designation form from the State Department of Agricultural Resources for the town's animal control officer. So we need to vote to redesignate Reed Wilson as the town's animal inspector and authorize me to sign the designation form. So call for a motion.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion to,
Mr. Chairman, if you
yes.
want to be clear, that's actually for animal control officer, not animal inspector. That was just
Oh,
a
okay.
mistake in that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the motion to designate Reed Wilson as the town's animal control officer has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. So I'll sign the form. General business number 2 is a request from the Cannabis Control Commission for the town to sign an updated host community agreement certification form.
I'll give you the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion to sign the certification form, which is just an update of what we did before, has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, general business number 3 is a request from Sylvia Wood, President of the Friends of the Rowley Council on Aging, to place a container at the Town Hall Annex for the annual shoe drive fundraiser.
Give you a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion to authorize that request has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, that's general business. Proceeding to new business, which is a request from Crown Castle to approve the modification of Verizon's equipment at the cell tower at 124 Haverhill Street. This has gone to the planning board, which has determined that the request to modify the tower is exempt from site plan review because there will be no dimensional changes to the tower or to the expansion of the ground level area. Nevertheless, it needs our approval. And specifically what they're proposing to do is in order to better serve the public and minimize the amount of towers in the area and to approve the financial viability of the site, they're requesting permission to modify Verizon's wireless equipment by swapping 6 antennas, replacing 3 RRHs with 9 RRHs, and adding 1 OVP box and 1 hybrid cable, which again, the planning board has determined that's not subject to site plan review. So I'll ask for a motion to approve that request.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to approve the request was made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. New business number 2 is a request from the library director Pamela Jacobson to increase the fiscal year 2019 expenditure cap of the library revolving fund. And I don't think I have any paperwork for this one. Oh, here, thank you. Okay, the request requires approval of both the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee in accordance with Massachusetts law. The library revolving fund is authorized under the Departmental Revolving Fund bylaw in the annual town meeting of April 30th, 2018, to set the limit at $2,500. So the request is to approve that limit to $5,000. Requested by Pamela Jacobson, the library director.
I'd like to make a motion to support the increase to $5,000.
Motion, second?
Second.
Motion to increase the limit to $5,000 has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we've got 2 minutes before we start the public hearing. Take up old business number 1, which is the Pine Grove School project. The first item under there was to discuss Pine Grove School fixtures, furniture, fixtures, and equipment purchases for Phase 5 of the renovation project. I'm going to ask that we table that discussion.
I'd like to postpone that, yes.
Because the Dorr and Whittier has been asked to take another look at the proposal to purchase furniture for the teachers, because what they came up with initially seemed a little pretty high, and so they've been asked to look at more or less expensive alternatives. So it's really premature at this time. So let's, seems to me we should just wait and see what they come up with and review it at that time.
Phase 5 has not gone out for purchase.
Right.
And it's still, we're still seeking bids for the Phase 5 furniture.
Okay, so.
Mr. Chairman, I asked to have the, do you want to go on to the second one, or?
Well, I was just gonna ask for a motion to table
Oh.
that.
I'll give you the motion.
Second.
Okay, motion to table that item has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it. So, okay, the next item is discuss the clerk of works hours, the clerk of work hours under the Pink and Company Owner's Project Manager Contract. So you want to address that?
I had a meeting with Andrea Lombardi from Pink and with Larry Berger, and we were discussing the number of hours and for the completion of Phase 3, 4, and 5. And it seems that Pink made a bid on the project based on what they saw, and they're concerned that it may be close, that because of the increased hours worked for the AP room termite problem, that they had to work additional hours, and so that may necessitate their they're putting in additional hours into the contract. What the basis of the meeting is they would like us to consider Larry Berger is a senior project manager and clerk of the works. And under the MSBA rules, we must have a clerk of the works on site while construction is being done on the school. And so what Andrea proposed was that we might consider that we could have a person with a fewer number of years on their resume who are qualified to be clerk of the works, but not with Larry's experience, so that we could be charged a lower fee and thus reduce the cost if they needed to increase the number of hours. At this time, they're not ready to increase the number of hours, but because we only have 8 months left on the project, and it's something that we may have to consider coming down the line.
Okay, but so they're gonna give us a formal proposal?
Yes, they will.
Okay. So
If we are willing to consider that we have a clerk of the works who will not have the experience that Larry does, but has enough experience to be the clerk of the works under the MSBA rules.
So is there anything for us to vote on at this time? Or
Nothing to
Okay,
vote on
just a
at
matter
this
of
time.
seeing what they come up with?
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right, do you want to, anything else you want to say about the project? Or?
I was walking through the kitchen in the AP room, and they've done a fantastic job. They're going, I believe this week was the first time in quite a while that they actually served hot lunches at the Pine Grove School, and
Oh,
it's
that's good, yeah.
fantastic.
Okay. Okay, since it's, we have one more item on old business other than the recycling center, which we're gonna have to put off until after the public hearing. Do the fire station and police station addition project update. Project is now moving along at a good pace. Work continues on the existing police station. The finished work continues in the fire station. The project is on track to be completed at the end of this month.
Just a quick add there, Mr. Chairman, that the final paving and the landscaping will be done in the spring when the spring weather changes. Police department should be, once the furniture comes for the dispatch center, they should be completely in both buildings by the end of the month. Fire department will be done by the end of the month, but they're not planning on moving in until probably March, so there'll be a kind of a phased move in there, so it's going along very well at this point.
Great. Okay, we'll get to the recycling center after this public hearing on the Rowley Veterans Association alcoholic beverages liquor license application. Notice of this hearing was published in the Newburyport Daily News on December 27. I'll read the notice. Notice is hereby given in accordance with Chapter 138 of the Mass General Laws as amended, that the Raleigh Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 7th, 2019, at 7:30 PM in the Raleigh Town Hall, 139 Main Street, Raleigh, Mass., upon the application of Raleigh Veterans Association, Inc., President Stephen Morris, for an application for a new alcohol club license. The business is located at 19 Bradford Street to consist of a lounge and service bar downstairs. Anyone wishing to comment should attend this hearing. Written comments will be accepted. Okay, the applicant has paid all taxes, water bills, and electric bills. So I'll call for a motion to open the hearing.
So move.
Second.
The motion to open hearing has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All's opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we submitted this application to various town officers, specifically for their comments, specifically the building inspector, the police chief, the fire chief, the coordinator of health services, and the town planner. The police chief, coordinator of health services, and building inspector did not bring up any concerns. The town planner noted that any future proposed outdoor seating or activities on the premises would require planning board approval before they could do that. The fire chief did list 7 issues of concern, and he submitted a memo to the selectmen, which I'll go through. As soon as I find it. Okay, so we received a memo from the chairman, the chief of the fire department, saying that after speaking with the building inspector and the new manager, Carol and Jean, we discussed several issues that would need to be addressed, and they are as follows. So I'll just briefly try to go through these 7 issues. Number 1, occupancy limits of the first floor is not to exceed 99 people, which would include staff, RVA staff, and entertainment staff. Number 2, if an event were to be held in the first floor, they would need to use one of the following to ensure that the occupancy limit is not exceeded. And there are 3 options. One is to hire a fire detail at $50 an hour. The second option is to use a crowd manager program of the Department of Fire Services, and that's explained in detail. I'm not going to go through all those details. The third option is to sell tickets to the event to ensure that the occupancy limit is not exceeded. So that was the second point. The third point by the fire chief is to develop a check sheet for the closing staff to ensure that trash is removed from the premises and any heat-producing items are shut off. 4 is to do monthly inspections of all safety appliances to ensure they are operating correctly and are present and serviceable, to include emergency exit lights and exit signs, fire extinguishers, and that the fire alarm is operational and checked, have all items serviced annually by qualified and licensed individuals, and keep a running log of these safety equipment checks. Number 5, the use of the outside was also discussed, and it was made clear that there would be no outside consumption of alcohol or live entertainment, as this license is only for the first floor of the building. If they wish to serve alcohol or have entertainment outside, they would need to follow the procedures to gain approval by the appropriate town boards before they could ask for a change in license. It was stressed that there would be no outside seats for any reason. The use of upstairs was discussed, and Ms. Jean was told that the issues with both stairs would need to be addressed before the second floor could be used, and the appropriate permits and license changes applications were submitted. And finally, we also discussed with her there needs to be a procedure and a policy in place to keep the general public out of the premises, as the license is a club type where the general public cannot walk in off the street. Okay, so those were the fire chief's comments. The application, staff has determined that the application from the RVA for the liquor license appears to be complete. So I'll now ask the applicant to comment and to explain specifically what hours they are seeking for the service of alcohol. Are these hours the same as the hours previously approved, which is 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. weekdays and 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. on Sundays? Who is representing the applicant?
I don't know.
Caroline is.
I am Caroline.
Caroline James?
Do you want me to stand?
Yes, please. No, you can.
No, you can
sit down.
stay.
You can sit down.
I didn't realize it was 9 a.m. was our hours, but I think it's the same hours that we had before, which I thought was.
You're not requesting different hours?
No, we're not.
So that would be from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. weekdays and 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. on Sundays?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't have to open at 9, that's just,
No,
We
no,
don't-
no.
we don't-
didn't we change that to 11 a.m.? What was that on the,
I can't remember.
I know there was some
We
discussion at
normally open at 11.
11. I think we,
Yeah, it was 11 a.m.
I thought we changed it, we had it at 11, but I know we discussed 11, but I can't remember exactly what.
Okay.
Yeah. 11.
So whatever.
Is
No
11,
changes.
is 11 fine with you?
Yes,
With you
that's
people?
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So we'll make that at 11 o'clock.
Okay, so your application, the application lists Ms. Jean as the new manager, is that correct?
That's
You're the new manager?
Yes.
Not Richard Dodson, who was listed on the previous change of manager application. Debbie, does that mean they need to file a new application for a change of manager?
No, they don't, because actually their license expired, so there is
Oh,
no
okay.
existing
All right.
liquor license.
All right, so I'll ask you a few questions, and maybe the board members will have,
Okay.
other members will have questions. Are you tip certified?
I am.
Could you describe your experience running a bar?
Well, I have been a bartender and I would say a senior level bartender for over 18 years at a club in Ipswich. I also ran a department as an HR manager for 5 years with the state. So I'd say I feel I'm comfortable with the business side of bookkeeping and as well as staffing. Being a bartender, I know what I like to see things, how things should be done and how things should be handled. I know the mass liquor laws, comfortable with that.
So how many bartenders will be working at the RVA?
We currently have 8. We have 2 shifts,
And they're all tip certified?
yes. And when we reopen, we're gonna make sure everyone's, we're gonna check their files, make sure they have current copies of all that stuff in their files.
Do you have an assistant manager, or who is that?
Because I've been sort of volunteering my time, so just trying to get a handle on how things run and what's the best way to go about this. We haven't decided on an assistant manager at this date. I think once I start to see how the operation runs and put things, more systems in place, then I can determine that.
Will this-
But right
will
now,
it-
I'm kind of controlling it.
Will this be a full-time job for you, or part-time, or?
Well, I work 2 days, I would say 2 afternoons, 3 o'clock in the afternoon till closing at the other bar, but it's more mornings. I find I'm in there 8 in the morning. I want to be available to all the town officials, as soon as I get to deal with the fire, police, or the building inspector. So I'm available most days from 8 in the morning at least until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But I would also, I go in in the afternoon, I'll go in at night to check on the night shift. Yes, and close, yes, so, it's been a full-time job, yes. It hasn't been full-time.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
No.
Okay, no? Okay, is there anyone present at the hearing who would like to speak on the application? If so, please state your name and your address. No one? Okay, we did receive a written comment from an abutter by the name of David Zizza. But his concern was the hours of operation for the upstairs area, and he was requesting that the hours of operation for upstairs, the function hall, end at 10 p.m., but currently they're not authorized to
There's
serve
no
any
functions.
alcohol upstairs.
Nothing is
so-
going on upstairs.
So nothing's going on
The only
upstairs.
thing we do is we check the water upstairs to the bathrooms.
Sure.
at the moment, so.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion from the board, members of the board? Okay. If we're satisfied with the application, that there are no further questions, I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll give you the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
The motion to close the hearing has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? The ayes have it. Now is the time to discuss the application and votes. We have to act on this application within 30 days of receipt, which is January 19th, so we should act tonight.
Mr. Chairman, just as a note, I know I've been critical of the operation over there for quite some time, and it appears as though the new manager is pretty much on top of things and has a lot of qualifications. I did specifically go see the building inspector today to ask about the building permit for the stairs and so on and so forth, and he said that the new manager was very responsive to him, asking him questions and asking his opinion and how she should do things and so on and so forth, and he was somewhat impressed anyway. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he felt the same way that I seem to feel, that, you know, things seem to have taken a turn for the better over there, and that we'll get a lot more cooperation, and I think hopefully that the neighbors and stuff will have an avenue if there is a problem that they can address to her, and she seems very responsive, so I would be in favor of the application at this time.
Okay, good.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
should I just state for the record, that, if and when the building inspector issues an occupancy permit for the second floor, that would not automatically trigger an allowance to serve alcohol there. The RVA leadership will need to come in for an alteration of premise application, go through this whole public hearing process, just as we are today. So notification to abutters and discussions on things pertaining to the second floor would be discussed at that point in
Right.
time.
We are aware of all that.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And Ms. Jean is aware of that, but I just wanted to state that. for the record.
Yeah, that's good, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so I think we can, I'll call for a vote. Someone would like to make a motion to approve the application?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion to approve the application has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, Amy will prepare the local licensing authority summary form tomorrow, and we'll let the board know when this is ready to be signed, the board members. The application, along with the summary form, needs to go to the ABCC for further review. But good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a question, Mr. Chairman, is they can't start serving alcohol until they get the permit back from the state, right?
Yes, we have to get the approval from the commission
Okay,
itself.
just a
So we
clarification.
will stay closed. We are doing work there and renovations and painting and cleaning the place up in the process, so there
Alright.
will be people there.
Very good, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, good night.
Okay, now discuss the recycling center issues. The recycling center on Route 1 that was on the state Massachusetts DOT property, as most people know, has been closed. In closing that down, it was discovered that there was a significant amount of trash, and that trash had to be removed from the site by the town's highway department. The FY19 appropriated funds for recycling have been expended to cover the big increases in recycling costs that we experienced last year. The original FY19 recycling expense appropriation was $8,510. This budget was level funded for the past several years. However, last year, when China stopped taking recycling items from the United States, the global recycling market collapsed and prices went up for everyone, including the town of Raleigh. We increased the recycling expense budget by $10,490 for an FY19 total of $19,000. This amount was used to carry the town to the end of calendar year 2018. We've found a possible new site for the recycling center on town-owned land on Route 1. It's just under 1 acre of land, and it's located at 516 Newburyport Turnpike. The aerial maps are included in our packet. And the question, I think, that we're looking for some answer from the board tonight is whether to authorize Debbie to get estimates on the amount needed to locate a new recycling center at that location. And it just seems to me it would be an excellent location for the recycling center. It's right on Route 1, right in the center of town. We've consulted with Brent, our conservation agent, and he seems to think that there are no wetlands on the lot, which is good. That would considerably reduce the cost, but there are a number of things that the town would need to consider in going forward with this, is to whether we wanted fencing, whether we wanted gravel versus pavement, whether we wanted to purchase recycling bins or rent the bins. I think we also need to consider where the costs of recycling are going too, whether they're getting worse or stayed the same or hopefully improving. That would be
I would
important.
certainly recommend, we estimate maybe $4,500 a month, you know, just to be safe, as operationally. I mean, so we need to have capital money to, you know, go to town meeting to construct the site. That's what the board wishes to present to town meeting, and then we need operational money that you'll need to factor in on a monthly basis on what it's gonna cost. And knowing that we spent for so many years, we didn't even spend the full $8,500 for 12 months. You know, it's a huge increase, you know, in the operational budget, but if that's what, you know, the plan is, then we just need to make sure that's part of the operational budget as well as this capital cost for, if
Right.
we can get estimates.
So the question is whether we should get an estimate of the cost to develop this recycling center on this lot, and in time to put an article on the spring town meeting warrant,
I've looked, Mr.
to authorize that fund to, and then let the people in the town decide whether they want to support it.
I looked at the lot was located, it's on the southbound side of Route 1, just south of the fence company, across from Olive Cafe, and it's a 1 acre lot, wooded lot. As we know from having this recycling center at the DPW site, it's absolutely essential that we have fencing and security, because people are just dumping everything under the sun at the old site, and that was one of the problems we were having. It needs to be, when it's open, it needs to be supervised by an employee, similar to what we had before, but we need to be able to lock the site up. It's a 1 acre lot. We could probably clear maybe a quarter of it. Would be enough to, and a little bit off the road, so there'd be some tree cover from Route 1, so it wouldn't look like an eyesore from the highway. And we'd have to figure the cost of clearing the lot. I don't think we probably don't want to pave it, but put down a good gravel road pack type base in there. See what the cost of that would be. Fence, a security fence, probably along the front and maybe halfway down the back, enough so that people can't just, you know, depends on how the lot's cleared, but so we can lock that up and keep it closed. The other thing we would need to do is take a look at the cost of bins. Do we buy our own bins, or do we ask, in this case, if we had JRM, they provided bins before, are we better off to lease the bins from JRM, and then we don't have to worry about when they get rusted out or whatever the company to do with the recycling would be responsible for it. And lastly, I think when you mentioned, town administrator said $4,500, I think we should really firm that up, because I have a feeling that everything I've been reading in the newspapers, and I've watched 60 Minutes on television, every program I watch and every article I read is sounding more discouraging on the cost of recycling. So I think we have to be very careful that we make sure we appropriate enough money to do it on a monthly basis.
Have you heard something
Pay those
since
bills.
last year?
Well, I mean, 60 Minutes had a program just recently on Sunday night, and I mean, it's recycling is we've all been trained. I know I've recycled, I think, ever since we've opened our recycling center, and I miss it at this point. But You know, it's not about us, it's about what the market is. And I think under the circumstances, the market's getting tougher all the time, and the government's negotiating with China on all kinds of tariffs and stuff, so I'm not sure. They're the main ones of taking the recycling stuff. And I think one of the things we have to be real careful of is these recycling centers now, they want clean material. We have to do a much better job of making sure the people who put items in the recycling center, they're clean and properly done. Otherwise, they're not going to take them from us. So that may mean we have to have 2 people at the recycling center on weekends if we do it like we did before. Because I know oftentimes down there, we get complaints from the attendant is working with one person at a particular bin, someone else is dumping unauthorized stuff in another bin. I mean, you gotta have eyes in the back of your head down there. It's a big job to monitor that thing. It isn't quite as easy as it sounds. It isn't. You're not just sitting there in a chair watching people. You're helping them and educating them and doing all kinds of things. So it may be a case of we may have to take a look at least at hiring 2 people.
What would be the hours of operation there?
We'd have to determine. I'm assuming it'd be something similar to what we had already, and
Saturday,
then,
yeah.
you know, we wouldn't expand it unless, you know, we'll see how it goes. But, and the idea would be, in talking with the town administrator, that we get all these estimates and take a look at what we have money for in the budget. And if we have enough money available, put it on the warrant for the taxpayers to decide whether they actually want to expend not only the capital money to get the site ready, but also for the ongoing expenses of it. So it's something that I think we've probably had more issues with the recycling since we announced we closed it than any other issue in town for the last few years. So I mean, we've trained people. People have been trained to recycle, and the center gets a lot of people down there, and it's just got shut down by the forces beyond our control. So we want to get a handle on it. We really have to, at this point, set it up right in the right location, which Route 1 is a good location, easy access for everybody. It's a wide open, straight stretch of road, so that people coming in and out of there will have plenty of visibility.
Just this past week, I've had 4 inquiries.
Yeah, no, it's a tough subject, and like I say, we've been trained, and to untrain people now is going to be difficult. So we certainly want to try and do it if we can, and if the public gives the townspeople a chance at town meeting to say yes or no.
Larry?
Bernie?
We looked at the possibility of using the water department area because it already had an existing fence, etc. The one concern that came up there was the snow removal. And so the area that was targeted was potentially usable for recycling was essentially where we put snow. And so if we're going to move to another site, then whatever the planning process is has to kind of anticipate the fact that any open area is going to have a lot of snow, and that has to be moved somewhere. So it just seems to me as though a quarter acre isn't going to be enough, given the size of the trucks and the flow of traffic in and out of that. But that's a site planning someone needs to do.
Well, I based the quarter acre on the fact that if you go down and look at the size of the recycling center we currently have, it's a relatively small area. In fact, the biggest problem is having enough space for people to pull in and the trucks to back in. So if we have to do a third of an acre, I mean, I'm just guessing at a quarter of an acre, but I just think we're better off using a new site than trying to, if we use the water department site, they'll want a water department employee there to monitor it. If that's a problem, I know some people have suggested down behind the police or fire station. However, that's that's cramped already, and we need to have the space available for parking for the ball field. So we really don't want to put anything else down there. It's just as tight as it is. It looks like there's plenty of space, but when you really get the operations going down there, I think a new site on Route 1. And the other thing with if you do it at Central Street, you're going to have a lot of cars coming in and out of Route 1 at Central Street, which is already a bad intersection. At least
It's not viable.
no, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't vote to put it at the water department, and I don't.
And there's wetlands.
Right, yeah, we know about those.
The Route 1 sites, if people look, like I say, go southbound on Route 1, there's a big open space between the fence company that's out there and there's a contractor that has some land in the back, and our 1 acre lots in between. It's really a prime location, and if we
Yeah, it
want
looks like a
to,
great site. It was tax title property, right?
Yeah, we took it for tax title years ago.
Surprising there aren't wetlands on it.
Yeah. A lot of that land had a hard time perking because there's a lot of clay
Okay.
out there, but for a recycling center, it's fine.
Yeah. Larry?
Yes, Larry White, Central Street. I'm also an owner up in Salisbury, so I use the Salisbury recycling. And I think one of the first things we need to do is to find the company for recycling and exactly what they will take and how. Because up in Salisbury, they'll only take marked 1 and 2 plastics. They'll take glass bottles and things like that. They mix the paper with the plastics. Cardboard is separate. They also they have a 50-foot high pile of Christmas trees and leaves as well. But their system is like they will have 2 dumpsters and then a third one, and it's almost like a drive-through. You drive up to the thing. They have 2 attendants there that help unload the stuff and kind of monitor what's going in and things like that. And it's probably on 2 acres or so. But one of the big things is that you may not be able to recycle everything. Depends on, the company or so.
Right.
1 and 2 is very limited. Of course, no styrofoam or anything like that.
Right.
It's really dictated now by the market.
Right.
The marketplace doesn't want certain plastics, they don't want certain types of paper. I know newspapers. Oh, just to mention too, in the meantime, the odd month, so this month here, the second Saturday of every odd month, so January, March, whatever, all the way down the line, the Boy Scouts take newspaper and cardboard over behind the Congregational Church. And my wife talked to George Pasanka, and they're getting, actually, because of us not recycling, they're actually gonna get a bigger, they use a box, not a dumpster, but a box, or they used to use, probably still do, a box, one of those transportation boxes, and they will take all the newspaper and cardboard. So keep that in mind for you. If you're interested in recycling at this point, you can bring your newspapers and cardboard down to the Boy Scouts. You just got to keep it for 2 months at a time. But it's the second Saturday morning of the odd month. So January, this month here, I believe that'll probably be this weekend, right?
Right, this Saturday.
They'll be accepting cardboard and paper, so keep that in mind, and it might be worthwhile to put that on the website too. Speak to George and see if we can put that on the website so that people are aware, at least we'll be doing something. And I think the Boy Scouts get it trucked for free. I think that's the deal they have, so that's why they can do it. We pay a trucking fee. They have a deal with someone that's probably a former Eagle Scout or whatever that is willing to do the trucking for nothing, so.
Sir?
Guillaume Buell, Spencer Knowles Road. I had one other comment. Has the board considered co-locating a site with a neighboring town to help with the cost, perhaps with scale, things could be a little less expensive? Perhaps Newbury, if we're going to pick the site on Route 1, or something with another neighboring town.
From what I understand, Mr. Chairman, Newbury and Georgetown both use Mellow, and they both charge. There's no, in other words, the days of free recycling are over. And in fact, it might be a situation that we might have to consider selling a sticker for a yearly. I think Salisbury, or I think Newbury has.
Newbury, at this point, the Newbury Mellow facility is open to anyone. There are no restrictions.
Okay, the one in Georgetown, you can open to anyone, but you have to pay.
At this time, they may change it.
And I think, I thought they said that Newbury was charging at this point.
I've been using Newbury for
nothing, so.
Salisbury has just imposed a $25 a year sticker.
I mean, I think we just need to take.
But those are fully developed facilities, so I can't see that there's any opportunity for co-locating with them. I don't know about Ipswich, what Ipswich does.
Plus, people, I think, are generally gonna want a place in town.
Yeah,
In other words, we'll take a look at all the options. If people have suggestions, or, I think the location, I think, is kinda cast in stone at this point, but how we operate it, or whether we charge, or have, resident stickers, or whatever, is if we don't charge, we're gonna end up getting people coming in from out of town, so however we develop the site, and however, whatever system we use, and depending on the contractor, whether it's JRM or Mello or somebody else, we'll be looking at bids at that point, but, you know, what they'll accept and what they won't, there'll be a lot of operational issues that, if in fact the taxpayers wanna fund this, so we'll look at all the options.
But your point, Dave, about gravel versus pavement, I'm inclined to say that it should be paved, because gravel is very hard to plow. You're gonna get an icy buildup, because they really can't scrape the bottom of the road. So that, you know, creates problems in wintertime, and when you get a lot of rain, you know, it's, one of the problems of our old facility was when you had a lot of rain, it was just a mess down there, you know?
Yeah, the big problem though is.
I mean, I know, saying, pavement really increases the cost of, would increase the cost of the facility, but I think we should look into that, because that would be ideal to have it paved.
When you're loading and unloading dumpsters, it's difficult, you'll dig up that pavement in no time. I mean, I don't mind paving the parking lot part, but where the dumpsters go, I think you really need to leave that as solid gravel, because if you looked at, that was one of the problems we had at the other place, was they drop them off and load them and unload them, they really dig up the earth. But that's something we can discuss later
Yeah.
on, but I mean, if we get the prices, I think that's what we need to do.
Well, maybe we can get prices for both alternatives.
Yeah, we can, sure, absolutely.
But are we talking about hiring an engineer like
Well, I
Meridian
need
to do a concept plan for us? Is that what we're talking about?
I need to get some, I think that I would need an engineer to do
Yeah,
the
I
site
think so
plan.
too.
And so I'd get a price for the site plan and an estimate, maybe, ballpark estimate from a contractor. And if that's okay, and then bring it back to the board.
Yeah, I think if
Why
we authorize the town administrator to begin to look at the situation, she can make a determination of what you think you're gonna need, because it's gonna, the worst thing we can do is underestimate what the costs are gonna be.
Right.
That's a
Right.
perennial problem.
Or proceed with, you know, incurring expense for the town to build a new facility and find out that, you know, the prices are so high, we can't do it anyway, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
Dave, is that a motion you just made?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we authorize the town administrator to look into the situation and get back to the board on what she estimates will be the procedure and the cost to move ahead.
I'll second
Was
that.
that a second? You just,
That was the second.
okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Okay, we have minutes for November 19. Everyone was present.
I'll give you a motion to accept the minutes for November 19th.
Second.
The motion to
Bob.
approve the minutes for November 19 has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll give you a motion to accept the minutes for December 3rd.
Bob Murray was absent from that meeting. Okay.
Second.
The motion to approve the minutes for December 3rd has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Announcements. The town has the following vacancies: Agricultural Commission Associate, Cultural Council, Fence Viewer, 3 positions, Wood, Lumber, and Bark Inspector, Zoning Board of Appeals Associate, 2 seats, and Deputy Shellfish Constables, 2 positions. For more information, please contact the Selectmen's office at 948-2372. The Rowley Food Pantry is in need of donations. Donations can be left at the Rowley Public Library. The food pantry is open on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and on Thursdays from 5:30 to 7 p.m.
Give you a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion to adjourn has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We're adjourned.